There was a particular era during the Wii where you would get loads of minigame collections because of, oh, we're moving around in games with a nunchuck, and you would get the same types of things, just slightly redressed in different ways, going, oh, look, I'm a new game. And this is exactly the feeling and emotions that are evoked from Instant Sports winter games, which I picked up on PS4, PS5 as cross-buy during a recent PSN sale at 50% off, and yet I still feel shortchanged. This game comes with 7 different events. All of them are wonky and weird in their own unique way, but the overarching feeling that I get from this game is that I don't feel like I'm in control of anything that's going on screen. A bit like when you'd go back to the Wii games where whatever you did with your controller didn't match what was going on screen. And so I feel like I've got the full Wii shovelware experience with this title. The 7 events that can be played in 1 to 4 players locally are alpine skiing, slopestyle, which is essentially tricks on a board, bobsleigh, ice cross, which is like a race basically on skis, ski jump, curling, and snowball arena, which is not really a sport, but hey, we've tried to entertain the kids. Now, let me get annoyed with each one of these in turn, because each one has its own weirdness. Alpine skiing is too fast for its own good, and you can't do any turns properly. So if you get up to full speed, which the game does very, very quickly by you just pressing accelerate, your skier can't turn. And because each of the 3 courses, which every single event has, 3 different courses or arenas for you to try out, you'll just smash up against the walls, or you'll miss gates. Every time you miss a gate, you get 5 seconds added on to your score. But sometimes it's almost as fast to just skip all the gates and bomb it down to the bottom and just have total disregard for the track itself, and you'll still get a gold medal. So it all feels a little bit pointless. Moving on to slopestyle, I actually think this is probably the best implemented game in the whole thing, because what it does is it allows you to move between different rails to grind on or jumps to dive on. But what you're then doing is pressing a button and then waggling the analog stick to kind of stay on balance, a bit like a skating game. And then when you get to jumps, you can press a button and then try and get as many free button combinations in to strike poses before you land. This is the best game that's here. However, the problem with the jumping and everything that takes place here is a symptom that the whole game has, in that it's got delay input lag. So you're always having to press the button about half a second before you really should do, if not sometimes more, because then the game just kind of goes, oh, you missed the jump, or oh, you fell off, or whatever. So it just becomes a bit of a mess. Moving on to bobsleigh, this event is so fast that it doesn't feel like you're in control of anything whatsoever. And now you're moving the left analog stick to try and stay within the yellow arrow lines. As soon as you aren't in them, it's like the outer wall edges are magnetised and you just fling towards it and bounce off it again. But you can never crash, you just lose a little bit of speed, and so you just kind of end up at the bottom anyway, kind of going, how did I manage that? And did it really impact on my time if I bounced across too many things? Probably not. The same thing occurs with ice cross, which is where you are essentially doing ski cross down an obstacle course, trying to avoid various different things, walls, objects in the way that will make you fall over and lose some time. Down at the very bottom of the cross, it then says, well, if you're in multiplayer mode, you can have a snowball fight at the end. That snowball fight never triggered for me, so I've got absolutely no idea whether or not that was part of the game, not part of the game, just an accident in the instructions. Who knows? But again, this suffers from the same problem of there is no proper turning circle, and everything feels just a bit too floaty for its own good. Curling has the same problem with just very loose controls. So when you go to throw one of your curling pucks, as it spins off, you get to choose the ferocity of your throw. Now, I accidentally pressed the button and let go of it right at the beginning, so I had the tiniest sliver, yet I was able to brush and brush the ice in front of it, and it picked up to full speed anyway, which just means that you don't even have to bother with the controls, to work out whether or not you're going to have a good or bad experience. You can also hit the back of the thing and bounce your puck back into the centre again, which felt very wrong. And it also only has 2 rounds. So if one person scores in the first round and wins, and one person scores in the second round and wins, it's just a draw. And everyone gets full points and moves on anyway. So it's very confusing. And the controls are so nonchalant in how they actually contribute to what's going on in the end. I genuinely came away from that game going, I'm very confused. Ski Jump has a similar problem. Again, you bombing down like a track, like bobsleigh, but instead of it being yellow, it's now green. You have the same problem as Slopestyle, where when you go to jump at the end, you have to do it so far before you actually need to for it to register as a jump that it like causes cognitive dissonance. And then once you're in the air, your character, like bobsleigh, just keeps on going up and down and up and down, and so it doesn't feel like it's actually the wind that's causing you to change your stance in the air. It's just randomly deciding whether or not it's going to push you up or down. And so it just feels really, really rubbish. The other thing as well is that it doesn't really mark you on how well you've actually performed the jump, it's just how far you get, and that's the overall score, which is not really how Ski Jump works. The last one is Snowball Arena, and with this you can pick up your snowballs and just spam the AI, and I'm sure you can do the same with the actual if you're playing against other humans as well, because the reload for you to then hit the next snowball in is quicker than the dazed moment that you get as the person being hit. So if you get hit once, you can then get hit, if you've got 10 snowballs on you, 10 times, and then it's game over. And so some of those games lasted literally 10 seconds, and then it was all over. Outside of this, there are some customization things that you can unlock by playing the games, earning cash in and unlocking them all. Good that there's no microtransactions, but this whole game just smells of discount Wii title that should have been out in 2012 but wasn't good enough then and certainly isn't good enough now, and so I wouldn't recommend this to anyone. I found it deeply confusing and frustrating to play and not very engaging at all. There's better winter games out there that even take themselves a little bit more serious than this, and even if they don't necessarily have the look at me, I'm dressed for kids part with the arcade styled third runs or arenas that everything's got, where there's like candy cane, Christmas trees, penguins running around, all of that kind of stuff. That's all really cute, but it doesn't actually affect any of the gameplay at all, and the gameplay is absolutely atrocious. So avoid at all costs, I'm afraid, with this one. I don't recommend it. Higher Plane Games is part of the Higher Plane Network, a completely independent media outlet supported by people like you. The goal is to create the best possible content that cultivates a richer indie scene for games as well as music and entertainment. To find out more and to get involved, visit patreon.com/Higher Network. Your support makes all the difference, and in return you'll gain access to bonus content and downloads. Thank you for watching.